Hey, everybody, welcome back. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 at Super Bowl 54 here in Miami. Brent, Martin, Austen Lane, and now joined by StuGotz, who we just really met him, but he's become a friend of the program over the first year on ESPN 690 in Jacksonville. Back from vacation here in, well, really your home. You don't have to travel too far. This is like just going to work, right?
Yes, it is going to work. I traveled further to get here, though, from my house up in Parkland than I did on the last vacation I was on, which was Cancun, Mexico. So it's a little bit further. It's a far drive from where I live. So, but we're having fun, man. Cancun to Miami Beach, Super Bowl week. Can't really complain, man. This is the third time I've been on with you guys.
It is.
Second time, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yep.
I feel a weekly show is in order. I'm going to start charging the station. I'm just letting them know right now. Whoever runs the place, I'm telling you right now, get a sponsor, and I'll come on with these guys every week.
Well, if nothing else, man, I feel like I'm like the Karate Kid, and you're kind of like my Mr. Miyagi, man, right? Because you're always giving me advice and everything. You're always kind of talking me through it, man. So I appreciate you being here and showing up again. And
yeah, man.
Oh, I hope you have some more advice for me.
We don't have the couch this time. Okay?
We don't have the couch, though.
No, there's no couch. But you guys, listen, the first time I was on, you guys were just getting started. You made it a year. Now you're past a year. I gave you your advice for your 1 year anniversary.
I was taking notes.
So stick to that. You've done a good job. And then when we get to a second year, I will have more advice. But I got to tell you, man, you are a big, strapping, tall, good-looking man.
Thank you very much.
Good-looking, too.
You should be a bit more confident. You should be telling me what I should be doing, man. Kidding me?
He tells me what I should be doing, and I listen most of the time. And what's it like to have the Super Bowl here? I mean, it's been here before. It's Miami. I mean, it's just – I say this a lot about the big cities. Like, if you have stuff in New York and Chicago and L.A., they're used to big things. You know, you take it to some places, and it's like, wow, it's the Super Bowl. Is it still wow, it's the Super Bowl in Miami?
I think it is. First off, it gives our city a chance to showcase itself for an entire week, which I think is always cool, especially you live in a city that is near and dear to your heart. Now, not from here. I'm from New York, but I've been down here since '97, and this city embraced me, our show, and Dan in a way that took us national. And so I am forever grateful to the listeners down here because they're the ones who got us started. And the city really embraced me. So it's always cool to have a big event down here. Miami's a great big event town because the weather's so nice. Yeah. What people don't realize about Miami when they get here is the stadium is 45 minutes north from where we are sitting. It's in Miami Gardens. There is nothing, and I mean nothing. It is the armpit of civilization, Miami Gardens. And then there's I'm serious. And I said that about Worcester, Massachusetts, 2 places, and Miami Gardens, okay?
And do you believe the Pawtucket Red Sox are going to Worcester, Massachusetts? It's unbelievable.
I know. But Worcester's got a lot nicer. I went to school in Worcester. That's why I say, Worcester, don't get mad at me. I went to school there. I was on the bad side of town, not the Holy Cross side of town. But, it's always nice to have it here. And I think the media is happy to come down here because, we've been to Super Bowls in New York. We've been to cold weather places. Miami has everything, right? There's something for everyone. Great city. South Beach is great. And so, it's always fun to have it here. Last time we had it here, I think it was Bears-Colts. Prince performed at halftime. Yeah. It's like a driving rainstorm. Yeah. But, I mean, how can there be anything bad in having a Super Bowl in your city? It's cool.
Well, it's like I was telling these guys, man, because, we go to the media parties every single year. And last year in Atlanta, it was a little chilly, and 95% of the media was rocking the exact same North Face pullover. Right. And now we're in Miami, man. You get a chance to kind of express your style a little more. You got polo shirts, right? You got button-ups and everything. Yes. So I appreciate from that standpoint where people are kind of branching out a little more, not just rocking that North Face, pullover. Right. Even though I'm not trying to hate on North Face pullovers.
No, but you got bands on, you got a T-shirt on, you got T-shirts on. No one's too dressed up here. Listen, that's the way we like to do it in Miami.
Absolutely.
And you're right. In Atlanta, it's actually the second time in Atlanta this happened because the first time I think was the Rams-Titans Super Bowl where the Titans were, a yard away from tying that game up, right?
Correct.
That was Steve McNair. And it was. I got stuck there, the ice storm. So I was stuck in Atlanta. And listen, you don't want that. Yeah. Super Bowl week. Like, you just don't want cold weather. You want to come to a nice place where you can kind of relax, be yourself. Not dress in a way that's official. And that's what Miami's like. Like, no one really works down here.
well, and answer me this question, man.
Seriously.
I mean, just go anywhere at 2 in the morning and you'll figure that out.
Listen, I always tell people I got on the radio because I didn't want to wear a suit. So there are 2 things you can do to never have to wear a suit. Live in Miami or work in radio. You're good.
And answer me this question, man, because obviously Miami, it never closes, right? They're up all night and everything like that. We're at Miami Beach last night, and there's people telling us to come eat dinner at 2:30 in the morning, man.
Of course, yeah.
How do people not weigh 500 pounds? Because if you're eating at 2:30 in the morning, like I'm talking about a 10-course meal, you think like people would eventually, not be that aesthetically pleasing, but they are in Miami.
The drugs.
Quickly becoming
Works wonders.
That's StuGotz' answer now.
Yeah.
No, but it's weird. Like, it's just things happen. There's no rhyme or reason to anything down here. It's 2:30, and then they go out to a club afterwards.
Yeah.
The thudding reality set in last night for me, where, I've been doing this for 20 years, right? I feel like an old man saying that, but I am an old man. Where I realized I'm 47, man. I'm not 32 anymore. It's like Mike Golick Jr., he and I do a lot of work together. We love each other. I love Gojo. But it dawned on me pretty quickly yesterday that Gojo he loves doing work with me. He loves having me on the radio. He loves doing radio shows together. He doesn't want me at his parties. He doesn't need me at his parties. I'm the old man now. I'm 47. I have 2 kids, and I can't do it. So Dan and I were laughing that we used to be like the center of the Radio Row experience, and we'd go all the parties, and we attack them, and we'd stay out late, and we'd have second dinner at 2:30 in the morning, and then go out again, and then do the show with very little sleep. I can't do it anymore. Yeah. So our dinner's over at 8:30, and I'm going to bed, and Michael Jr. is like, I'm just getting started. And I remember those days, but those days have passed.
And you almost feel bad saying I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I don't anymore.
Until you're in bed.
Until you're in bed. I feel fine, right?
And that's why I feel like Brent and I work so well, because I was kind of worried about the same thing, right? I mean, he has me by a couple years, obviously, like that. Right. I'm a little younger. But what really kind of put into fruition for me you know what? We're a pretty damn good team. We're leaving the Senior Bowl a couple weeks ago from Mobile, Alabama. It's about a 6-hour drive to Jacksonville, right? So it's a long, tedious, boring drive.
Totally. We're
driving back, man, and, we're talking about the business a little bit. Well, we reached that lull where there's nothing more to talk about, and Brent just kind of turns to me and goes, have you heard the new Eminem album? And I go, excuse me? He's like, I got it on my iPhone. Let's play it. And I go, say no more, fam. Let's do this. And I knew right then, man, the chemistry is there.
You're rubbing off on each other.
Little street cred somewhere along the way. Nice. Brent, Martin, Austen, Lane, StuGotz here from ESPN, here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 at Super Bowl 54. I was thinking of this. Have you ever thought on your drives home how much in your show, that you, by the way, can hear from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690 daily, that you talk sports versus pop culture versus anything else? Is it planned that way, or does it just go that way? And would you even know the percentages? What do you think?
It's a good question. No, I do not. I think the percentages vary from day to day, to be honest with you. We're not – what I love about our show, we realized, and to Mike Ryan's credit, our executive producer, he realized this even before I did, that this whole thing was shifting maybe towards podcasting. And eventually we'll all be there, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the reality of the situation. We went out of our way to make our show feel episodic, right? Like, we're going to pick up right where we left off the day before, which is, I think, a key to doing podcasts, right? It makes you feel like, hey, I have to be there. How does this thing end, right? Yeah. And sometimes we do a better job some days we do a better job than other days. But I've never really thought about the percentage. What makes our show so liberating is that we're not beholden to the news. We're not beholden to the Super Bowl. We're not beholden to the outcome of the Super Bowl. Now, our bosses may not like that, but it seems to have worked out well for us. When you're just not beholden to the news, you're free to go wherever it is that you want to go. I remember after last year's Super Bowl was dreadful. Remember how boring it was? Yeah. And I think we went out of our way to not mention the Super Bowl, like the entire show the Monday after, because the game was that bad.
Yeah.
And our audience loved that. Like, they loved it. I'm certain some people, did not like that. But that's a really liberating feeling for us to know that, hey, we're not stuck to XYZ happening. Kobe, that was a different story. Like, there are very few times, maybe a handful of times, where Dan and I went into a show knowing this is what we have to do. We're going to do this for 3 hours. It has never been after a Super Bowl. It's usually after something far more serious, like what happened, like the tragic death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter. So, but it's a long way of me telling you that, no, I don't really know the percentages. The percentages vary day to day.
That's why
and
people
Dan and I don't really think about the percentages at all.
That's why
it's like we're never sitting there going, we've got an hour not talking sports.
Well, the business. The business is like that now. Though. Yes. They want you like, hey, you're this. Did you hit this meter? Did you hit this thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way the media business works. And
yes.
so it's off key like that, which is cool. It's kind of organic.
But I also think within an hour, right? Within an hour, Dan and I know ourselves well enough to know that we'll hit the sports topic somehow, some way. We might find a funny way to do it. It might not be the traditional way, but we will find within 1 hour that we probably hit, 15%, 20% of that hour is on sports. Just hour away, though.
Hey, we got to let you go. StuGotz.
I'm uncomfortable with the handlers.
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Hey, it's good to have a handler. That's always a good thing.
I wish I had one myself.
We'll have more to come, and you can listen 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. StuGotz, Dan Le Batard, ESPN 690.
Stupidity!
Stupidity on the podcast. It's, just the biggest podcast there is.
It's bigger than Oprah.
It's bigger than Oprah.
Okay.
Enough said.
Maybe someday we will be too.
I got to tell you, he must be having a field day on South Beach. You, not so much. Field day on South Beach.
I did take my shirt off.
We'll be back on